This is a special playoff edition of TFC HQ presented by Kia, and I am Gareth Wheeler. It had to be the Seattle Sounders, didn't it? It's almost written in the stars, a rematch of last year's MLS Cup final. Seattle advancing after defeating the Houston Dynamo 5-0 on aggregate in their Western Conference Championship Series. Of course, Toronto FC punched their ticket a night before, got to sit back, watch how that second leg played out. Let's get head coach Greg Vanney's assessment of the team he'll be facing next Saturday.
Obviously, Seattle is the class of the Western Conference. Honestly, I just felt like as I watched the Western Conference games through the course of the playoffs, I just think they weren't nearly as intense or as high speed or as hotly contested as the Eastern Conference. And I think that's how the whole season was, to be honest. I think we knew going into the postseason, when the top 5 teams in the Supporter Shield standing are from the East Conference, that you're going to have to really compete hard and do what you have to do to get out of the Eastern Conference. And our series were no short of any of that. And I think Seattle showed that they're the best team in the West. They were able to take care of teams. Obviously playing 2 games up a man for about half of each of those games helps, but they also were able to get leads. So I think it'll be interesting because I really don't think they've faced the type of intensity that we've had to face and put into our games. And so it's going to be interesting as we get to the finals. Obviously 2 good teams, the 2 teams that deserve to be there, and 2 teams that are looking to, in their own ways, show something from last year as well.
Vanney's right. The Eastern Conference playoffs will be much more competitive than the West, and that shouldn't surprise considering the 5 top teams in MLS over the course of the regular season all came from the Eastern Conference. Now, Seattle, they're in a very good run of form. They haven't conceded a goal in 6 games, but did benefit from back-to-back sending-offs in both legs against the Houston Dynamo, where they were up a man in each circumstance. Yet the Seattle Sounders team, you can make the argument, even better than the team that we saw here at BMO Field last year. They certainly have more depth. Clint Dempsey, the U.S. men's national team striker, is fit, back in the team and scoring goals. He's their leading goal scorer as well. So it's a team to be reckoned with, which should make for a very watchable MLS Cup final. Now, Toronto FC going through what they did last year, it can absolutely pay dividends. There's much to learn, not only about playing in a big game as such, but the build-up. The media circus rolls into town on Wednesday, and there'll be a lot of commitments, a lot of demands of the players, but having gone through it before could create better circumstances this time around.
I think last year was my first experience with the MLS Cup and the whole show, and talking to the media a lot and having so many people from out of town and dealing with tickets and everything. And it'll be hopefully a lot calmer this year.
There's only one injury concern surrounding the squad at present time, and that's all about Josie Altidore. Was back up here at the Kia training ground on Saturday doing some rehab off the field, not yet ready to take part in full training, but Vanney's still optimistic his big striker will be available for the final.
We're confident that he'll be ready. We, obviously until we really get him on the field running and sprinting and changing directions, we'll know exactly where he's at, but the MRI and the reports that he's giving and how he's feeling are positive, and we will, we'll progress how we need to progress. We'll have everybody ready to go, and we'll see where he's at as we get closer.
Both Vanney and Morrow acknowledged Saturday that there will be some added emotion to playing against the Sounders yet again in an MLS Cup final, but really it doesn't change the task at hand. The goal has always been to get back to MLS Cup final, preferably host the game and go on and win it this time. So whether it was Seattle or someone else, it really doesn't change much in the mindset for Toronto FC. A full week of preparations. We have you covered on torontofc.ca, at Toronto FC on Twitter, on Instagram, wall-to-wall coverage building up to MLS Cup Final 2017. It all goes down next Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're not down there, then you can follow along with us. Use the hashtag TFC Live.